Today I want to talk about different types of kalimbas, more specifically box style versus flatboard. I noticed a lot of people buying the box style discover the unfortunate dead tine issue. Sadly, it is not uncommon to buy box kalimbas with dead tines. So what is a dead tine? You can identify the dead tine by the sound it makes. Instead of ringing like the others, it will make a plink or a thudding noise. I'll demonstrate that in the next part of the video. My understanding is that this thudding or plinking dead tine is caused by the way that the box is built to have the acoustics similar to an acoustic guitar. There's a bridge inside to support the hardware mounted on top. This unfortunately changes the way that the shorter tines or the higher notes play. Not all box style have those dead tines, but unfortunately it is pretty common among the box. So it's enough that I wouldn't buy a box style kalimba again unless I was able to play it first to be sure that it didn't have the dead tines. I will also say personally, after playing and hearing many of both types, I just prefer the flat board style kalimba. I think that they sound better, they feel better, they're just a nicer instrument. So I prefer them in pretty much every way, which is why my collection has a lot of flat boards and only one box style. So first, let's talk about the Hallouru 17 key flatboard. It has a lovely gloss finish. It's a pleasing shape to hold. It's beautiful wood. You can really see the textures in it. It's quite lovely. The tines are less stiff. It has a good weight to it, but it is a little bit top heavy. So the balance is just a little bit off. Not enough that I find it problematic, however. For the sound, there are no dead tines. It has really good resonance, and it's good for both fast and slow songs. It's slightly, deeply richer toned than the other ones. The higher tones are consistent and flow well in transition from the low notes. It's a great starter kalimba. It looks beautiful, it plays beautifully, and it is quality made. I do recommend this above any box style kalimba that I've ever played. It has a lot of playability and room to learn, have some fun, and you can play a lot of songs on it. Next, I'd like to talk about the Kimmy acrylic rainbow flatboard 17 key kalimba. It doesn't show up as well on this camera, but it has a lovely rainbow finish. and it dances as you move it around in the light. It's really, really pleasing. It is heavier to hold. It is quite solid, but I don't find it too heavy to play with. Some people do. I do have bigger hands, which probably helps in that I'm able to just rest it and it's not a problem. It has a cool, smooth body because of the acrylic, and the tines are also really smoothly finished, and they are a medium stiff tine. There are no dead tines on this kalimba, and it has a magical, clear, bell-like, quieter, tinkly sound to it. It has less reverb than a lot of these other kalimbas, and for that reason, it is really good for faster songs. It doesn't end up with muddy tones. Sometimes as the note sustains and you go to the next note on a fast song, it can sound a little bit muddy. This does not have that issue. The sustain is just not there the same way. So you could do something super fast, like Despacito, good example. This does have consistent transition between the low to high tones. There are no issues swapping in between. I do recommend this kalimba if you want to have a quieter, cute kalimba for playing, or if you like the more magical bell tone-like tinkle tones. I like to think of it as like the Walt Disney sounding kalimba. So if you're a fan of Walt Disney, you know what I'm talking about. It's just got that magical tinkly sound. It is a fantastic starter kalimba. It's a little bit more fun just, because of how it looks. It comes in the bear shape. It also comes in a paw shape. Both of them are quite cute. And it would also be a good kalimba for somebody who's a little bit younger. It may scratch, but I feel like it would probably be pretty durable. Next, I'd like to talk about the Ling Ting 17-key flatboard kalimba. This kalimba, unlike all of my others, does not have a glossy finish on the wood. It's just stained. Now, it took me a while to get used to that particular aesthetic, but I do love it now that I'm used to it. The second option a lot of people have are with the edges of this kalimba. Some people find that the edges are quite sharp. I feel like this might have some relation to the size of your hands. As you can see, my hands are quite large. And I rest it on the back of my knuckles, okay? And when I do, as I move it into the playing position, it creates a gap. So that gap makes it so that these edges do not cut in for me. But if you have smaller hands, that might be an issue to consider. It is a heavier, well-balanced kalimba. Just resting on those two knuckles, I can move it around quite a bit freely. There's no issue, it's not going anywhere. It has softer, more flexible tines. It is a little bit harder to tune because the backs of the tines actually have hash marks on them. So this can make it so you have to tune it a lot less often. In fact, I rarely need to tune this kalimba. It is probably my best one for that. But when I do need to tune it, I have to use pliers because some of these tines, in particular these two here, the A and the F, they're in there so snugly that without pliers, there's not a hope of tuning it. So that is a common complaint with this particular kalimba from Ling Ting. But I wouldn't let it be a deterrent for purchasing this particular kalimba because it does play beautifully. As for sound, there are no dead tines on this kalimba. It is beautiful. It is really lovely on the deeper tones. It almost has the similar feeling as the box on the deeper tones, but without all the additional issues. It also rings more clearly than the box. So because the tines are so soft and there is so much reverb, Sometimes it almost is too much. So this is really, really good on slower songs because the tones don't turn muddy. It has really good transition from the low notes to the high notes. Overall, it's a beautiful kalimba. I do recommend this one. It is really similar to the Hallouru, but it has a lot more reverb. It's lovely, and I do recommend it. It has a lot of playability, and it's made with really good quality. A nice little perk also, just in case you're curious, these little hoops hold a chain, so you can have some fun vibrations and stuff if you hook the chain up to it. It sounds quite nice on some of the songs. And finally, I'd like to talk about my Chill Angels 36 key Flat Board Chromatic Kalimba. Now this one is very different from these in multiple ways. Number one, it has 2 rows of tines. So chromatic kalimbas are able to play sharps and flats. They do that by having multiple rows of tines. Now I'm going to talk about these tines a bit more, but you can see there are 2 rows. It has a lovely body. It's beautifully smooth. The finish is quite pleasing. It is a slightly heavier kalimba, but a big part of that is just that it has so much more hardware. And also, as you can see, the hardware is all metal. Whereas, for example, let me pull up this guy. You can see that there is wood. So there is one metal piece of hardware in there, and then the others are wood. This helps to reduce some of the weight of the kalimba. But again, I don't feel that the weight of this is problematic. I think weight-wise, it's very similar to all 3 of these. And it holds beautifully. Like, there are no issues with it. It's a beautiful shape and size. Sound-wise, there are no dead tines. It has a medium resonance. I would say it's between the Hallouru and the Ling Ting. And with that, it means it can play both fast and slow songs beautifully. There are no issues. The notes never sound muddy. They're always clear and crisp. It has a warmer, homier sound. It's very rich sounding. And it has a really great transition between the low and high notes. The sharps and flats, honestly, are a joy. They open up so many more possibilities for songs. And it doesn't really take that much more to learn how to play it. Now, because it has different notes, I am still learning this one. This is one of my new babies. So I will occasionally miss a note as I'm playing chords, only because it's slightly differently positioned. Now, I mean, that's not really an issue. And like any kalimba, once you get used to playing it, you just sort of learn by memory where your thumbs need to go. So again, I've only played this a couple of times, so please forgive me. So other than that, I would say that I do recommend this. This is more of a professional kalimba. I consider this to be my professional kalimba. So if I'm traveling or just playing around, I'll often pick up one of these. But if I want to play a really intricate song, something more beautiful, more professional, or something where I want to employ sharps and flats, I will go to this kalimba every time, hands down, and it's always a joy to play. It is more expensive, which means it's clearly not a toy. So it is an investment, but it's an investment that's worth it if you're getting to the point where you either want to advance, or you want more song options, or you're just looking for something that's a little bit nicer. I do highly recommend it. Also, the tines on the top are super easy to play, and that will be demonstrated in a video that I link you to from the maker. She is a wonderful player, and I hope one day to be as skilled as she is. Some final thoughts. Kalimbas are a quiet instrument. They aren't meant to be super loud. If you're trying to record it, I would recommend getting a really fantastic microphone or a pickup. These pickups are easy to find pretty much anywhere, and there are all sorts of different types. You attach it to the kalimba, and when you play the kalimba, it then records the vibrations and sends it to your computer. They stick on. There are different types of stickies. Some people just tape them on. Depends on what you are comfortable doing. But I do recommend this rather than playing your tines really hard. I like to call that mashing your tines. And when you're mashing your tines, you will end up bending them. And once you bend them, it's not going to sound as nice. So just try to remind yourself, play lightly. If you can grow out your thumbnails a little bit, it will help. If you're playing it with the skin of your thumb, you are more likely to be a tine masher, which is where you're pushing really, really hard. So again, try and grow out your thumbnails. Remember that you're playing it lightly. It should be like a little butterfly touch. You will find the sound that you love playing different kalimbas. So each one of them has their own little personality and sound. I love all of my kalimbas, maybe with the exception to my box kalimba. And they do all sound differently, and I use different kalimbas for different songs or different styles, and I love them all. So keep playing around with different kalimbas, and you'll find one that you love. Wood, acrylic, soft tines, flat, hollow, stickers, everything changes how kalimbas sound. They do all have their own voice. More resonation is great for slow songs, but on fast, it can sound muddy. Less resonation is fantastic on faster songs. Again, think Despacito or similar speed. Acrylic is cooler and harder. It has the more bell-like quality to the sound, more quiet. The wood is softer, warmer, deeper, more comforting sounds. Whatever kalimba you choose, have fun learning it, have fun playing it, and I hope to see you out there.